In the year 1587, in a dungeon in Lisbon, a prisoner sat before his Spanish interrogators. He was an English sailor captured by pure chance. His name was Arthur Dudley. And the story he told them was so explosive, so dangerous, that his captors did not dismiss it as the ravings of a madman. They listened. They took detailed notes. They believed it was possible. He claimed to be the secret son of Queen Elizabeth I of England, the living, breathing heir to the throne hidden from the world. This is not just a story about a rumor. This is the story of the greatest ghost that haunted the Elizabethan age, the ghost of a child, an heir, a secret that could have shattered the Virgin Queen and changed the course of history. For over 40 years Elizabeth ruled. She was Gloriana. She was the untouchable Virgin Queen, married only to her nation. Her power was built on this perfect, inviolable image. But what if that image was the most brilliant piece of political theater ever staged? What if, behind the heavy white lead makeup, the jeweled gowns, and the towering red wigs, there lay a truth so human, so perilous, that its discovery would mean not just scandal, but ruin? Today we travel into the heart of that shadow. We will follow the whispers from the Spanish prison cell of Arthur Dudley to the most intimate chambers of the English court, and into the wildest theories that have persisted for centuries. This is the search for Elizabeth's hidden child. Our story doesn't begin with Arthur Dudley. It begins with a vulnerable young princess. At just 14, after her father Henry VIII's death, Elizabeth went to live with her stepmother, Catherine Parr, who had secretly married the dashing and dangerously ambitious Thomas Seymour. Seymour was the king's uncle, a man with a taste for power and a lack of scruples. And in that household something happened. The reports that later emerged are deeply unsettling. Seymour would enter the teenage Elizabeth's bedchamber in the morning, wearing only his nightgown. He would tickle her, slap her playfully, and one time, according to Elizabeth's own governess, Cat Ashley, he even ripped her black gown into 1,000 pieces. Catherine Parr, rather than stop it, sometimes joined in. It was a toxic environment of inappropriate games and blurred lines. Soon the rumor started. In 1549, just after Thomas Seymour was arrested for treason, a shocking whisper spread through the court, that the young Princess Elizabeth was pregnant with Seymour's child. Elizabeth herself, then only 15, wrote a furious letter to the Lord Protector, denying it as a shameful slander. But the seed of doubt, once planted, never truly died. It was the first crack in the facade. What if the rumors were true? Could a frightened teenager, with the help of a few loyal, terrified servants, have hidden a pregnancy? Some theories say yes. They point to a strange absence from court, a mysterious illness. The most radical of these claims is the Prince Tudor Part 2 theory, that Elizabeth did have a child by Seymour, and that this child was none other than Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, a man some believe wrote the works of Shakespeare. While mainstream historians dismiss this as pure fantasy, it shows the power of the original scandal. The Seymour affair taught Elizabeth two brutal lessons: that her body was a political battlefield, and that secrecy was her only shield. But the central figure in this mystery is not Thomas Seymour. It is Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester. Their bond was the great love story and the great scandal of Elizabeth's life. They had known each other since childhood. When she became queen, she gave him rooms adjoining her own. They were inseparable. Ambassadors wrote home in scandalized tones about their intimacy. Elizabeth openly called him her eyes. And here the whispers grew louder than ever. It was said they were secretly married. And if they were married or even just lovers, could there have been a child? In 1581, a man named Thomas Scott sent a report to Dudley himself, claiming a papist conspirator was spreading a vile story, that my Lord Robert hath had 5 children by the Queen, and she never girda in progress but to be delivered. 5 children. An absurd, logistically impossible number. But within that wild gossip lies a kernel of a more focused theory. The Prince Tudor theory, which emerged centuries later, posits that Elizabeth and Dudley did have one son, and that he was raised in plain sight as Henry Wriothesley, the 3rd Earl of Southampton. Proponents claim this secret royal bloodline is the hidden story within Shakespeare's sonnets. Others point to Francis Bacon, the great philosopher and statesman. In the late 19th century, writers like Orville Ward Owen used elaborate codes they claimed to find in old texts to argue that Bacon was actually the secret son of Elizabeth and Dudley, the rightful heir to the throne. To them, Elizabeth's entire reign was a performance to hide this monumental secret. And this brings us back to our prisoner, Arthur Dudley. His story was different, more personal, less grand. He claimed that on his deathbed, his guardian confessed he was not his true father. He was, instead, given a baby boy by Sir Robert Dudley himself, with instructions to raise him as his own. That baby, he was told, was the child of Robert Dudley and the Queen. He said he even confronted Elizabeth's chief minister, William Cecil, who reacted not with denial but with panicked fury. So, what are we to make of Arthur Dudley? Almost certainly he was not a prince. He may have been a pawn of Spanish disinformation, a tool to destabilize the Protestant queen. He may have been a convincing impostor or a deluded man. But the crucial fact is this: the Spanish took him seriously. They interrogated him at length because his story was plausible. It confirmed what Europe suspected, what Elizabeth's enemies hoped, that the Virgin Queen had a fatal weakness, a secret that could bring her down. Elizabeth lived her entire life under this microscope. Her every move was watched. Her monthly cycles were a matter of state interest. King Philip II of Spain once bribed her laundress to find out if she was menstruating normally. When marriage negotiations were serious, a panel of doctors once inspected her to verify she could bear children. The pressure to maintain the fiction was immense, a form of psychological torture. This context makes some of her stranger habits take on new meaning. She was intensely private about her body, allowing only a few trusted doctors to attend her. And famously, she forbade any post-mortem examination of her body after death. Was this the final act to protect her Virgin Queen persona? Or was it, as the conspiracy theorists claim, to ensure no one could ever find physical evidence that she had given birth? We will never know the physical truth. Elizabeth took that to her grave. But the story of her hidden child is not really about biology. It is about power, perception, and profound vulnerability. Every rumor, from Arthur Dudley to Francis Bacon, was a weapon. They were used by foreign powers, by Catholic plotters, by disgruntled courtiers. They were born from the deep-seated fear and fascination of a woman who wielded absolute power in a man's world. How could she be so strong unless she was secretly a man? How could she refuse marriage and motherhood unless she was hiding a terrible secret? The theories are often rooted in the misogyny of their times. In the end, Elizabeth won. She controlled her narrative. She defeated every plot, weathered every storm, and left a legacy that defined an era. The child she nurtured was England itself. The ghost of Arthur Dudley and all the other phantom heirs asks us a haunting question. What was the true cost of that victory? What personal truth was sacrificed on the altar of political power? Elizabeth I crafted her own legend with masterful skill. But in the silent spaces of that legend, in the dark corners of Spanish prison records and the desperate pages of coded theories, the ghost of another possibility still lingers. A ghost of flesh and blood, of love and secrecy. The ghost of a life that history can neither prove nor entirely forget.